Weiss+Associates presents The Duality of Meaning in the Term United States. Before we address the existence of two separate and distinct United States, it might be good to first consider a quotation by the famous American writer and humorist, Mr. Mark Twain. His quote relates well to this matter. He said, "It ain't what you don't know that gets you into trouble. It's what you know for sure that just ain't so." Every American, for the most part, knows of the existence of the United States when referring to the 50 states of the Union. But there's more to the story than what you've been previously told. This is the part of what you thought you knew for certain isn't really the case. Without doubt, what you will now hear will be a paradigm shift in your formal education. This is clearly illustrated by the federal income tax created by the 16th Amendment to the Constitution. The federal tax laws will help you better understand the distinction between 1. The constitutional republic, the 50 states of the Union that Americans hear about all the time, and 2. The 10-mile square corporate entity known as the District of Columbia, which also includes the U.S. territories like Puerto Rico and Guam. The U.S. territories are called states of the United States. In this version of the United States, the Constitution is not law, and the inhabitants do not possess inalienable rights. A big difference in the two, huh? Let's move to the actual wording of the 16th Amendment, and you need to think about this slowly at first so that you don't miss what's really being stated as it addresses the application of the federal income tax and the parties to which it's only applicable. The Congress shall have power to lay and collect taxes on incomes, from whatever source derived, without apportionment among the several states, and without regard to any census or enumeration. Notice the emphasis on the section of the amendment that stated, without apportionment among the several states. The 16th Amendment is applicable within a jurisdiction to which the national government didn't have to abide by any inclusion of the rule of apportionment, as required of the government in Article 1, Sections 2 and 9 of the Constitution. So, how did the 16th Amendment originate? It began in 1894 when the U.S. Congress attempted to levy an income tax directly upon Americans living and working in the constitutional republic, by much the same format that exists today within the Internal Revenue Code. However, a year later, the United States Supreme Court heard the case of Pollock v. Farmers Loan and Trust, and the court stated that an income tax was a direct tax, and, for it to be constitutional, there had to be the inclusion of the rule of apportionment based on the census and enumeration. Perhaps it's a good time to again look at the exact wording of the 16th Amendment. Did you catch the willful and intentional omission by the U.S. Congress as to the rule of apportionment mandate given by the Supreme Court? Clearly, the federal income tax, being a direct tax, had to include the rule of apportionment requirement, or else it wasn't permitted for application within the constitutional republic, the jurisdiction known to most Americans as the United States. Yet, the 16th Amendment was passed and is constitutional. So, what's the explanation for the IRS claiming the 16th Amendment imposes the federal income tax upon American nationals? First, you'll notice that the IRS never states what jurisdiction the 16th Amendment is applicable toward. We can only glean this by reading the very important but seldom referenced legislative intent of the 16th Amendment, published in the Congressional Record of the United States Senate in 1909. President William H. Taft wrote the legislative intent of the 16th Amendment and stated to Congress, "The Pollock v. Farmers Loan and Trust Company case was held by the Supreme Court to be a direct tax, and therefore not within the power of the federal government to impose, unless apportioned among the several states according to population." The decision of the Supreme Court in the income tax cases deprived the national government of a power which, by reason of previous decisions of the court, it was generally supposed that government had. I therefore recommend to the Congress that both houses, by a 2/3 vote, shall propose an amendment to the Constitution conferring the power to levy an income tax upon the national government, without apportionment among the states in proportion to population. For many Americans, this is the paradigm shift. The federal income tax was only levied upon those who elected to work for the national government in some type of public office or use federal property. This is the second United States that exists, and the federal income tax is only required for those within this 10-mile square, which some people have referred to as the District of Criminals. Finally, you can read the Federal Regulation 26 CFR 1.871-1A and see that the U.S. Congress states, non-resident alien individuals are taxable only on certain income from sources within the United States, and on the income described in Section 864C4 from sources without the United States, which is effectively connected for the taxable year with the conduct of a trade or business in the United States. Can you now see the importance of distinguishing between the two entities called the United States? The statutory term non-resident alien individual is equivalent to one who is an American national by birth in the constitutional republic or one who was naturalized there. This is explained in 26 CFR section 1.871-1B4. We have a separate video explaining what a non-resident alien is. The link to that video is located in the show notes below. So, which United States do you live and work in? Is it the United States that makes up the constitutional republic? Do you work in the private sector? If so, there's no obligation imposed by federal law for any American national to file and pay the federal income tax unless they personally choose to donate. After that first donation, there's a self-renewing expectation to keep paying because you've joined a sort of club, and the taxes are similar to its dues. In the event you're classified as being a non-resident alien individual who, intentionally or not, made a voluntary election to become a taxpayer, then the U.S. Congress states that you can leave the U.S. tax club by giving official notice. Now, that official notice has to be given a certain way, and we've discovered the proper way to accomplish this termination of that election. All that's required is to understand the Supreme Court's decision and the federal laws presented. The next step is for you to make the free will choice on your part to leave the U.S. tax club on a permanent basis. It primarily depends on which United States you live and work in. If you, as an American national, work only in the private sector, you have no obligation to make donations to the corporate United States, as you are one who is neither of the subject nor of the object of the revenue laws. It's time for Americans to learn more about what they don't know so that each American can live free of the tax scheme perpetrated over 100 years ago. Education is vital in understanding that you can free yourself from the fraud hidden in the convoluted semantics of legalese regarding terms like United States and U.S. citizen. So, if you meet certain criteria we've established, we invite you to join the thousands of clients who've participated in the revocation of election process. Please go to our website or contact us at bilateral@gmx.com. Thanks for watching. Please smash the like button if you found this video informative, subscribe to our channel, and follow us on Twitter. You can also distribute a link to this video to those in your circle of like-minded friends.